Go ahead. We're live.
All right, welcome everyone to the Murray City Municipal Council Committee of the Whole meeting September 19, 2023. Here, I can see the council chair and representative for District 5, Councilwoman Turner from District 4 is here, Councilwoman Dominguez, District 3, Councilwoman Potter, District 2, and Councilman Rogers, District 1, as well as Jennifer Kennedy and Patty are here as well in the council office. We are going to begin. We have no approval of minutes, as we just met last week, so we will move forward from that. These back-to-back meetings, I can't imagine how much fun it is for you all.
They're amazing.
So, with that, we are going to begin with our discussion items. So the first thing, and maybe I would like a little quick 1 minute direction from the council. There's a lot going with power. Whether it's power rate increases, they're going to be going through a lot from a capital projects, just different things that are going on in power. I was considering putting them on every other committee of the whole, even if it's for a very short period of time, to give us an update. What's changing and what are the couple high points that are changing in power? Do you have any concerns? Do you need any more support? Where are you at you're gonna hear something today about some of the capital stuff that they're gonna need. Is that something, I just feel like it's a big deal to our residents, especially with the raises we've done, that maybe it's good that we're a little more informed frequently from them. Is that something you all would be interested in?
We used to do that.
Once a
Didn't
quarter.
we, Greg? We used to do monthly reports.
Um,
And it's been a couple
I'm
of
not,
years.
not in the council, but I mean,
No, in the
we-
committee of the whole.
They were quarterly. Quarterly.
Quarterly?
I thought we did them monthly. I mean, it's been,
Are you guys
Maybe
comfortable
5 years
starting
ago.
monthly and see if it's too much, then we can always scale it back and go quarterly, or do you wanna?
I'd rather hear what Greg has to say
Okay.
about that.
oh, I'm good.
Left, right.
I can give you as much information, if you wanted to keep it, however you wanna work it out. But I could give you a highlight every month that would, nice little succinct executive summary of things that are going on. We could do that and then, getting tired of me, but,
Never.
no, but I'm good doing whatever you.
And I think about it in two ways. One, obviously, power is unique to our city, in the sense that we have our own power.
we are functioning as the board.
Right. And so I see us having as more information and that sort of thing. So comfortable with that, we'll start with it once a month and just go from there.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. With that, Power Department report, Mr. Greg Ballon presenting.
Thank you. It's good to be with you. Thanks for having me, Power Department here today. So, I'll go over a few things. So I think last time someone asked, do you have a PowerPoint for us? So Rosalba?
Yay. I mean, it's great that
It
we
helps.
have it, but it helps.
It sure does. Oh, I agree. So, a few things. I'm gonna inundate you with acronyms today. Just kidding. Resources, we're looking at long-term outlook projects that we're dealing with. So just right off the get-go. So UAMPS, this is the one I'll talk about today. So, UAMPS, UAMPS. I'll just kind of read it off there and then we'll talk about it, but it's the Utah Associated Municipal Power Systems, UAMPS. So it's a full-service interlocal agency, provides comprehensive wholesale electric energy services, operates on a nonprofit basis, and it's the community-owned power systems throughout the Intermountain West. And so the UAMPS membership represents 50 members from Utah, Arizona, California, Idaho, Nevada, New Mexico, and Wyoming. So UAMPS is kind of our local, and then there's APPA, which is American Public Power Association, which is national, and that's public power on a national level.
So many UN flow up under
Yeah.
EPA, not necessarily UN, I understand.
For sure, yep. And then there's a UMPA, which is a whole other interlocal people down in Utah County. But so UAMPS is one you'll always want to remember. And I know Councilman Rogers is fairly new, and we've got. So I'll just come every so often. We'll just talk. There's a ton. I mean, I could fill up 3 sheets of acronyms, and we won't do that to you.
I appreciate the
We
explanation.
can always give you a list.
Yeah,
of
we could give you a
acronyms,
list.
because
We
have
could for
had
sure. But UAMPS is I meet with them monthly and they help us a lot. We're looking at different projects. They help wheel our power to us. They help get the power that we purchase wherever we can get it delivered to Murray. So they're a big asset to us. So, and they're local and they do a really good job. So, so this is just kind of a look at our resources. We've got CRSP, that's another one. Colorado River, sorry, I told you I wouldn't put another one in front of you, but CRSP, that's Colorado River Storage Project. That's anything from Flaming Gorge down to Glen Canyon Dam. We get 13.5 megawatts of nice, renewable, clean electric energy from them, hydro. So Hunter Power Plant, we have 22 megawatts in that, and that's coal-fired over in Price area. We have two landfill gas plants, Valley County and Transjordan. Between the two of them, we get 7.5 megawatts. We actually are right now selling part of our Transjordan back to, selling it to Truckee Donner, and they're using it to meet their RFP or their renewable
How much do we sell to
portfolio.
them again?
70%, but
70% of the 7.5 or?
are just so that one's 4.5, so 70% of that. So roughly under 3 megawatts. That, maybe I'll bring that up right now while we're talking about that. That is getting renewed, and I've had some council talk to me and say, hey, why don't we bring that back into Murray? So I met with them, and we're going to extend 1 year, let them try and figure out how they're going to replace that on their end. They are very appreciative with that, but after 1 year, we'll bring it back, and 100% will be back in Murray. So I hope that works well with you guys, because that's the direction we're going right now.
Well, would we have a loss from that if we did that?
Back when we started this, it was one of our most expensive resources. It's in the mix now, so it makes sense to bring it back.
Okay.
It's
So-
really interesting to go and see that as well.
Yeah, I'd
I
love
don't
if
know
you guys wanted to tour that
How many
again.
of you have seen it?
It's,
I don't think we've ever had a tour, at least not in my tenure.
hey,
Not
we got a few things we need to set up. I'd love to get
It's
you.
gonna be really good.
It's really fun to see.
It
I mean,
is.
It's
It's
quite the
so
project. And
Yeah.
we're the only utility in Utah that has
Yep.
methane gas right now.
Well, I
We
think
we
in
were
the
told one
last,
time methane's not sexy, but that's okay. We're looking at renewable resources.
So let me just make sure, it's 7.5 megawatts is what we have available, and we ship 70% of 4.5 megawatts off.
So there's three.
So it's not gonna increase above 7.5, 7.5 is like,
So we'll get
that's what I
that,
wanna
we'll get
make.
7.5 back.
Okay.
And it's just nice. It's a good renewable resource for us, and it's reliable.
Makes sense.
And it's 24/7, so we really like that. We've got Red Mesa, which is just like 4.8 megawatts of solar that's just brought on in March. WRP is some hydropower that we can get. It's called replacement power, but initially it used to be if they had excess power, we'd get it, but they are actually just going out onto the market now. So it's kind of a hit or miss as to whether it's less expensive or more expensive than anything else we can get. So we kind of look at that every month. Natural gas turbines, we can generate 33 megawatts right in our backyard, which is nice. We use that in a peak, so that's our peaking. We use 33 megawatts usually in the summertime to help fill our load. And then IPP, we have actually 72 megawatts that we could call back at on a seasonal basis. Right now, we're calling back 19 megawatts of IPP. That's going to end. We brought that back for the summer, so that helps a lot. And then we are not calling it back for the winter. We've got other things we've got lined up for the winter. So, anyways, that's just kind of a snapshot of our resources.
The turbines are also interesting to see. And
Oh,
I
yeah,
don't think,
for
I
sure.
don't think most of the council have
Yeah.
seen them. So it'd be kind of cool.
We're gonna go on a
I don't
field
think
trip.
any of us, but you.
We'll load you up in
Yeah.
a van and just take you on
It's really cool.
one day, or we can take you down to IPP. But I mean, I think it'd be nice to see what we have locally first. Take you up to the hydro, generators, see some of our substations. So when I talk about central substation, what I'm talking about, if I talk about the riding substation, Pam knows what that is, but like I said, it's right in our backyard. Anyway, so yeah, I think the more you guys know, the better off we are, so.
So the hydro's not on this list?
No, I left that off,
Okay.
sorry.
No, you're fine. How much is that megawatts?
So Salt Lake County is 3 megawatts, Jordan is 4.5. So it's 7.5 total.
For the hydro.
Oh, wait, which one did?
Hydro is 5.
Oh, no, the high, sorry. I heard something and thought something else. The hydro is a 5 megawatt. We have 2.5 megawatt
And
turbines.
we use it all when it's working.
Yeah, and we had one unit running this year.
When's the last time it was working?
Well, we've had some issues. Well, it worked this year. Half of it. Before that, probably 3 years before that. We had the failure, then we had the problem with we just had some problems up there. We're trying to get it back to where it's an awesome resource. Lots of nice, clean. Rewire that this off season and be able to hopefully have both of them. And stock is still something we're looking at, so we're gonna address that during the winter, during this off season as well, so. There's lots of stuff going on. We'll talk about some projects. So here's a long-term outlook. So if you look at that, I'm trying to explain it, so it's if you kind of look at the legend up top, so CRSP, that's about the 13 megawatts that we were talking about, so these are our base loads. WRP is something we can put in there as a base load, but it's not technically a base load, but it can be. So Hunter is the gray. So if you look at Hunter, it was scheduled to come offline in 2030. I've heard that's being moved up, and we're not exactly sure the time frame. I mean, about 2025. I hope it's not that soon. The thing about Hunter is the mortgages, it's one of our least expensive resources. So we'll take that as long as we can get it. But so we're looking at a 22 megawatt deficit in 2030 unless they move it up. Then we've got hydro, so that's seasonal though, but that is a summer resource. This is a summer one. I have the same thing for a winter, but I didn't want to throw too much at you. And then if you can see, Red Mesa came on in 2023, and that's about 4.8 megawatts that we get from solar. And so that's during the day, obviously, but that is one of our resources that we count. So we've got to come up with 22 megawatts, and we're out looking, trying to figure out what IPP is. Yes.
And we purchase more from Red Mesa.
We took our full allotment that we could have as fully subscribed, and now if they do Red Mesa 2, you bet we'll be on the list. And
And
Is
that's
that
in the-
shared?
we are looking at some other, UAMPS is looking at a few other solar installations as well, so
Good.
we're definitely exploring.
Are
We
we
didn't-
looking at any solar?
What's that?
Are we looking at any solar like within the city, on the buildings?
That's something that's not right now. I mean, it's something we definitely need to look at probably, because although we do count the rooftop solar, we don't really put in our portfolio, but I'm trying to think what we've got as far as rooftop solar. I wish Matt was here, he'd have that, he'd have that on the top of his bed, but, cause that's really, I could find out real quick, but right now, it makes more sense for us to go out and purchase something that we can bring in and bring into our resource that is a little more controlled, I guess, but that's not off the books either. So.
Yeah. Well, there's there's like that front cost.
Yeah.
And the light blue is showing the deficit that we have.
Yes,
based on
thank
what
you.
we
Yeah,
produce.
and so we drop off. And another thing we're looking at, we started looking at this again at UAMPS is the CFPP, so there's another one, carbon-free power project. That's nuclear. I'm not gonna bring that back anytime soon. I don't think the subscription's there yet, and
How many is it? How many would it cover though on the?
Well, we could sign up for, they'd love us to take as much as we wanted. We could take the full 22 megawatts if we wanted to replace And that's about the time frame they're looking at coming online 2030, 2031. But they've got a lot of work to do.
So that would about replace Hunter. It's about
We
what-
could, yeah, I mean, that's an option, for sure. That is an option. But the thing is, it's scheduled for 12 units. They've had to reduce the size down to 6 units. And so the cost of that plant is now being spread across 6 units, whereas if they could get the subscription up to 12, then that would reduce the cost. I hope they can get there. I think in the long term, we have to have nuclear because it is carbon free. We do have to have it in our portfolio eventually. I'm not gonna bring it forward anytime soon because I'm just not there. But we are in the project, or not, sorry, we're not in the project. We get to attend the meetings and be informed so that we can make a good informed decision. But there's lots of work back for a viable option. And I am.
Yes, oh,
So with the light blue, I mean, that
how
means
much
we're,
I wanna say, but
I
I'm
know,
holding
I
back.
agree, I know.
with the light blue, that means we're going out to the market to cover that
Yeah.
shortfall.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
then we're probably getting hammered rate wise in the market.
We
or-
can, I mean, that's, so, but once again, I don't have time to talk about that, but I will, so, what happens is, we can only firm up so much. So, if you look at our low load, so we're trying to firm up what our low load hours are, our max low load hours, so let's say it's 60 megawatts. We dropped from 120 down to 60 megawatts, or maybe it's a little more than that, but we can't firm up any more than what our minimum is we take, because if we're long, then we have to, we're taking something on and then we're selling it at a discount. So that doesn't make any sense.
So you always wanna have light blue.
Yeah, we always wanna have some that we're going to the market for, but not, so this is, if we put we don't have our turbines on there, so in the summertime, if we had to, we could bring 33 megawatts up into that with turbines. So we have ways to fill that in, and we do the very best that we can to mitigate that and, keep our risk to a minimum. But yeah, we are exposed to the market.
Right, the turbines are expensive to.
It just depends. So once again, whatever, yes, thank you. Whatever the gas cost is what dictates how much it's gonna cost. So right now, we have gas in October, and we can generate for about $55 a megawatt hour, which is awesome, but we can buy it right now for 30. So we could go on all night, sorry, and I think I only have 20 minutes here to talk.
But the good thing is we'll see you more often.
Yes.
It's good that, I mean, for me, it's good that like we're understanding we're having this continuous conversation, cause I feel like I've come to a point of understanding
Yeah.
with UAMs. Really.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I love the fact that Gary knew the blue was,
Yeah,
a deficit. Someone sitting back here right now that hasn't seen this before, what is that? So, no, I appreciate it. You guys
that's when we have to
are
go
getting it.
to the market like the stock exchange.
Yeah. So here's our project, central substation, AMI meters, LED streetlights, and hydro. These are just some of the big projects that we've got on the book. The one I want you to know about is our central substation. And we had Pam and Gary out there the other day, and we actually walked down to the substation. And we showed where a transformer's leaning this way and a transformer's leaning this way. So it's built on a landfill, and needs to be rebuilt.
I mean, it's
Landfill.
collapsing more or less is what, the
Yeah,
only way I can
yeah,
think of the
yeah,
ground
it's
under
just-
it is collapsing.
Just think
So-
of thousands of pounds on a cement pad and then starting to tilt.
So
Landfill
what are you
has
gonna do about that?
refrigerators.
So one option we looked at so far is bringing up, we've had some drilling, so we've had, I can't remember what that's called, but they've come in and drilled, and so they can look at the geology and tell us where the best soil is. Well, guess what? The best soil is right where our warehouse building is. And so one option we're looking at is actually possibly moving it up and tearing down the warehouse building and building a substation up there. That's one option. We're gonna look at also if we can do it in place, if we can shore it up and make it a viable in place. We looked at that the other day, but that's our next thing we're gonna look at. But just know that we're gonna probably have two transformers being ordered. I'm hoping by mid-October. We'll put an RFP out and we'll get the transformers coming, and then we'll try and figure out where they're gonna go.
And how much is that gonna cost?
Transformers are upwards of 2 million each. So that's gonna be a $4 million, just that. Substation itself, I don't wanna tell you that right off the top, it's more than that, quite a bit. So, but that, right now, that keeps me up at night. That substation.
When you see it, I mean, it is
It is-
alarming of it.
It is.
So-
Even the gentleman that I was with, he even said, this keeps me up all night long because I just don't know what's going to happen.
But we're hoping in 2 years we'll have a new substation built.
Could we, could we capitalize that we're already gonna be building on Third West as well? For our, our new area that we're about to build. For,
Not for public
We're
work.
at.
it's Public Works, yeah,
That's
is that,
Fifth West.
Fifth
Oh.
West, sorry, I
Oh, that's
apologize.
He said, I have no room in these, there is no room.
Yeah.
It's a power, we don't mix.
Stay over there.
Power, water, and
Execution.
Only on a shirt.
I hear you. No, they would take us if, I know they make room for us, but we're hoping. We'll
To
see.
use the space
We
we
have,
have.
we have a lot. Is it ideal? No, that's not the best. I mean, between two railroad tracks is not ideal to me, but I mean, it's property that we have. There's other places we could look at. I looked at some in the past and it never came to fruition, which is okay, that's fine. But, just know that we'll do the very best we can, come up with the best options, and we'll bring something forward to you.
And the safest option.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, I'm gonna go into.
Thank you.
So-
Actually, we're at time, so is there anything else you wanted to hit on before?
No.
Or when,
You wanna
we'll see in a couple meetings, so.
I have one more item.
Oh, you do have one more item, so do you just wanna move to that and take, okay, yeah. So the second item is discussion on an ordinance amending 15.20.230 of the Murray City Municipal Code relating to electric service schedule 15 voltage discounts for general service ultra-large customers.
Okay, so let me just tell you what happened in this process. I mean, when you're doing something like this, there's lots to look at. Somehow, and I don't know what, it just got left off. It didn't get stricken, it didn't get taken out, it just got left off of a page. And so, in the rate, and so it's something that we need to keep. Dave Berg, our consultant looked at it and it was supposed to be in the rate, so it was just something that happened, so. What it is, so it's a voltage discount, so they take a primary metering installation, so they take it on the primary side, and so they own everything past their connection, so transformers, wire, all that stuff is there, and so we don't have to worry about that, so it's just kind of, it was built into their rate to have a voltage discount, to give them a break for us not having to upkeep transformers and all that kind of stuff. There's only one customer on this rate, and their bill is sizable, so, but as far as this discount goes, it's very, very, very small percentage of their bill.
And so when you say ultra-large
Ultra-large.
customers, is that like the hospital and,
Also large hospital.
only ultra-large?
So they are our ultra large customer, yeah. So, yeah, just one on that rate, that's 7 megawatt.
And this is something they've had previously and was just here.
Yeah, so,
We can't just say.
and so we're just letting you be aware of it tonight, and we'll come back at the next council meeting in the council and have you vote on that. But, I mean, it's just something that God, yes, so I'll take responsibility for this, but, it's not we just want it back on there. So if we can amend that, and I think people thought we were trying to do a rate increase or something, but no, it's not a
Yeah.
decrease, it's not anything different than what it was. So it's just,
We're human, so things.
That said, we have 10 more minutes still then, considering if I put your two times together. So is there any questions on this or any other questions on the general power stuff that we were discussing earlier? The only thing that I would be interested when you went to the resource and you showed what resources you have available, can you also just right next to it show what we're using kilowatt at each one? I know you did in the chart, but the chart is not
yeah.
numbers, and so
Yeah,
that would
you
be
bet.
helpful.
Okay, so if you could just see,
Yeah, the megawatts you're pulling from each one of those
Oh,
projects
you know
and
what?
actually using. Cause that kind of shows how much we have available to us.
Yeah,
Rather.
so it's kind of not the greatest on the side, but so.
I saw it and I was trying to.
Kinda have to guess. So no,
It'd be
I,
helpful just to see the numbers, I think.
yeah, I think that's excellent. I
Okay.
really like that. So that, if we could somehow incorporate that.
So it's kind of like the first column is what's
Yeah.
available, the second
Okay.
column is what we actually consume.
Okay,
And add hydro, right?
Yeah, and add hydro to it.
yeah, for sure.
Okay.
So,
Okay. well,
Thank you.
appreciate it. Thanks for your support.
Appreciate it.
Always.
Don't worry. We can take a 1
No,
minute,
no,
but you go grab your.
You guys.
You're okay? Okay. We'll move on to number 3, a discussion on the library senior center feasibility study. And we have Kim Fong and Jeff Davis both presenting. So I will invite you both to the front. And anyone else that you want to bring up with you or recognize, we're welcome to.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you, Greg.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
you.
Thank you, guys.
You out there? He wasn't expecting that.
Powerful.
So you can you plug it in here or? That's gonna be mounted, I think it's in the back.
It's over on the side.
No, he doesn't have the USB, he's gonna plug his laptop in.
Well, don't ask me because, you know, I can't get my printer. So, yeah, no, I need my IT guy.
Well, welcome. Thank you for
you.
being here.
Thanks.
Excited to hear on this project or,
So, this is Jeff Davis, who was the lead on this project. He's from MSR Design and a architecture firm that works a lot with libraries. And he does have the experience with both with a couple of facilities that are the combination library senior center as well for a couple different places. So I'm gonna just turn the time over to him and can kind of go over with you what they found in their study.
okay. We'll just wait till this gets loaded up. I don't know what, so.
Cameron, you wanna?
You help us get him working.
Yes.
That one was good, actually.
Oh,
It's like getting dumbfounded.
So like I just closed it off. This is some.
him, why he's going through this report, some questions, so should we wait until the end?
Let's ask Jeff, would you refer for them to watch this?
Cause I don't wanna lose, I don't wanna distract your train of thought.
I'm
Okay.
Online friends, if you can hear us, we're just working on getting the presentation.
It's like, I'll send out the link. It's like, really
Not good enough.
We just have to.
Doing something.
Just a sec.
Oh yeah, he's watching himself. Yeah.
We're ahead right now, so we're okay. We're ahead by 5 minutes. So.
expert, so.
Do we have a flash drive that we can move it over to the desktop?
Yeah, I don't have a flash drive with me. If somebody does, we could do that. Yeah. Yeah. When I
You need
did
a flash drive?
Yeah. Brenda has a flash drive.
Who does that? Yeah, we can translate it. These.
Just has a dongle.
He just has it.
Dongle, everyone.
It's like going, you just do.
He's like, he's a magician. Just so you know that is the technique there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you have dongle.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to do.
Anything that connects appropriately.
Say loud.
Name for that device.
Like this back.
You got it, I think we got it.
Thanks, bro. Appreciate you.
Scripting.
It's just in my that's not my
I don't know if we tested the Mac.
a new project.
I'm not sure.
Find a
I
map.
have watched.
Please bring it in.
Yeah.
Well, also, if we ever have
Right.
Mary come here and
So it should.
talk to us, we'll need to test a cell phone. So she blew me away when she built a cell phone. I'm just excited. It's
I think this is more powerful than that, to be honest. So I'm not sure
Where
why.
are we right now? That was my first experience with a presentation via cell phone. And it was perfect, like it looked exactly like it was. Again, everyone knows, those online and stuff, we are doing a discussion on the library senior center feasibility study. So, 30 minutes.
I will just go along and feel free to interrupt me with questions as we go. Of course, you have the full report. There is just help you understand, there's two kind of documents. There's the report itself, and then there's an appendix, which is a series of the meetings, presentations from the process that we went through. So this study was really about looking at the feasibility of the library and the senior recreation center and how they might come together on one site, but also to look at how they might be able to share spaces, which would make for a more efficient building and make for a less expensive building because of the shared space, and not just shared space for toilet rooms and staff areas, but also shared space for community event type space that they could both use just based on scheduling. I think you're familiar with the site where the senior recreation center is. That's the site that we were studying, is to look at if we could get both the library and the senior recreation center on both of those. We started out in looking at kind of the overall site and the parking. Parking has become kind of one of the main issues of whether this can work or not. And I've got a little bit more on that, but including this lot out to the west that's showing, 94 stalls in this study, that's a ways away from the site where the senior recreation center currently is. But including that one, it's 241 existing parking stalls.
The 117 is that big lot right across the street.
Right.
Yeah, so that's the lot that's basically the senior recreation center parking. It also gets used for the ball fields, and then it's also, the upper half of that is where the underground water reservoir is, and the pump house is just off to the right of that. So we started out by looking at the program needed, and not just the program needed based on what is going on now, but looking out into the future and to say, what is the space the library needs? What is the space the senior recreation center needs? We looked at national benchmarking of similar sized cities, similar sized programs, kind of across the nation, and developed a program. Part of developing that program was looking at the library and the senior recreation center at different times of the day and what their use was and what their kind of membership on site was, so that we could start to see where is the peak use hours, and if they offset each other, that helps us understand where we can see those overlapping and shared spaces. As we started to look at this and look at the kind of unique needs of the library and the senior recreation center, the consensus was that it would make sense to have a shared entry instead of having two different entries. Even though there wants to be, their own identities, there is some crossover use, right? A lot of the seniors do use the library, and making them kind of go back outside, especially in the winter, to get over to the library didn't make a lot of sense. And we can make a great building with a single presence entry. Then after you enter in that lobby, then you have your identity and entry to the library to one side, the senior to the other side, and then taking the shared space and putting it in between, so that some of those shared spaces would be accessible through the lobby, like probably a big multi-purpose room. But then the seniors could access some of those from their spaces. Library could access it from their spaces without there needing to be an overlap of mixing of the different groups. And then we looked at, this would need to be a 2-story building. And so we looked at what kind of shared spaces might go up above. And then we looked at keeping the senior center on the ground level just for better accessibility, and then putting some more of the library up on the second level. So you'll also see in your document the program that we put together that has the required square footages based on our recommendations, along with some notes about some of those that include things about furnishings or any special requirements, so that should this project move forward, that's available for a really good starting point. So here is the 2 different options that we came to. And you can see in the appendix there were lots of different options that we explored. These were the 2 most feasible. So site option 1 looks at demolishing the senior recreation center and building a new library and senior recreation center at that same location. This scheme ends up with a little bit less parking. And the other issue that is a part of this one is that the senior recreation center would need to find an alternative location for 18 to 24 months while this building was getting built, which in our cost estimating that we'll get to in a minute, it does have some kind of preliminary costs associated with that, but it's more about kind of some moving costs. It's not, because we don't have an exact solution, it doesn't include if you had to lease space, it doesn't include if you had to renovate space in order to relocate them. Option 2 does have more parking, and it also has the great opportunity to build the building while the senior recreation center stays in its current location. After the construction is complete, they can move into the new building, then that building can be demolished, and then the parking lot can be built at its location. The one thing that this does displace is there's a little bit of there's a pavilion and a playground. This option displaces that. Whether that moves to a different site or just wasn't there anymore, you lose that in this option.
Could we also build a new pavilion and playground? It's an option too.
Yes, you could. You would sacrifice either parking, or one option that was talked about was the old library and fire station building where the Head Start is city property.
In front of it.
Yeah, it's kind of up and to the left, just off of the screen, to the left of those houses up there.
Oh, yeah,
Right
yeah,
on
yeah.
62.
But it does connect into the
The
park.
back side of the park.
Yeah, in fact, if I
No, it's right on 62.
I can show you.
I think. Oh, yeah, that green, yeah.
You-
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's right on 62.
yeah, it's that building.
It's like
It's up in the
kitty corner
upper
to the
left-hand corner.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. Okay.
that is city property that is being leased. That could be a place where things could be relocated to, depending on what the decision is to do with that property.
Sounds like a domino effect.
A lot of these
If
projects
you move
are.
one, you have to move the other, then move the other, and then move that.
So I'll just draw your attention, I won't go through in detail, but let me know if you have any questions. This page shows you some of the, opportunities and challenges of the different options. You see that parking on option one is red, right? On option two, it's the kind of orange, which is kind of in between. There is some feasibility more with option two with the parking, but not a completely ideal situation. And so let me kind of walk you through the parking. So everything we've shown you so far shows that the project is feasible as a two-story building with shared program. And then it comes down to parking. So these are different pieces out of the report. I just wanted to bring your attention to that last line where it says minimum parking stall count to make the project feasible is 249 parking stalls. So that really is a minimum. It's still that'll provide adequate parking for most times, but during high use baseball, it probably is going to be super crowded and not enough. But that's kind of a minimum point. So then when we look through our parking study, and you'll notice there are two columns, and I'll just pull your attention to the one on the right. There are two columns. One excludes those 90 plus stalls that are far away, and one includes those. So it becomes more feasible if you say it's okay to have constituents walk a little bit further to get to the library or the senior recreation center. Not ideal for seniors, not ideal for moms and lots of kids and strollers dragging them along, right? For some people it may be. So that's something to weigh. If you want to include those, it does make it more feasible. Our recommendations are based on excluding those. And so these are all of the options that provide parking that excludes those 91 that is above that 249 count. So let me help you understand those just a little bit better as well.
I
Yes.
have a question. In my district, we have a problem with events happening on the baseball field, softball field, whatever you want to call it. And neighbors can't get out. And if an emergency vehicle has to get in there, they have to stop at the top of 7th West and walk in their equipment. So I don't want, the word want shouldn't be in there, but I have I have to be very careful of those citizens that they're going to be parking into their street and making it a congestion.
Yep.
So that's what I have a worry for, because we have that situation right now in my neighborhood. And the parking is very, very congested. So this parking issue has,
Yes, and it is a big challenge, and that's why we said that 249 is the minimum.
yeah,
For the most part, that's gonna work well, but if you're having, playoffs or some kind of
yes, that's.
tournament, right?
Yeah. And then, and Councilwoman Turner was just at the rec center and she said there was like 100 and how many people?
60.
Yeah, so if you've got that going on and a baseball going on and you've got the library going on, that's a lot of impact for that community in that area to handle that amount of pressure of parking and people coming in and using that.
Yep.
I mean, I don't have any issue of the building and what it looks like. I think it's great. My biggest issue is the parking and with the neighbors and everything just coming all at once.
Yes,
So,
and that's why we did a lot of detailed study on the parking, because we
Yeah.
could see that it was going to be a pinch point. And so, so you'll notice on this chart, the two bottom ones that I had highlighted in yellow, they have more than 249 stalls, but I've grayed them out now. It's option E and option F.
okay,
Those are the underground parking options, right? And you could easily increase that to even more stalls by going underground. The reason we're saying that it's not really super feasible has to do with the cost,
yeah,
right?
yes,
You can get the parking there, but it's gonna be at a very high cost.
yep,
It's also not a very efficient, so like if you think about a developer putting a parking structure in, or even putting a parking structure under their building, those are designed to be super efficient for the cost versus the number of parking stalls. The shapes and available land, right, including pushing up against that water reservoir, it doesn't make it very efficient and it incurs a few extra costs. So the costs are quite expensive for the underground parking.
What about a structured parking lot?
So we did look at structured parking. And so the structured parking ones that we are showing are C. Oh, it's actually C and E.
right there in front of the face.
And they have a little bit less cost, if I remember correctly, but still some expense. So it's what it comes down to is there is an option that works, and that's the yellow one, and that's 274 stalls. And is what that one includes is it's basically just that option 2. But then if you look at the upper left-hand diagram where it shows B, there's a piece of property there that some folks at the city, I think it was Corey with the senior center, had talked to them, and they would be willing to look at potentially selling that piece of property. And if you purchase that, that would get you up to that 274 stalls. Now, these two in green work even better. But there's I think quite a bit of a controversy over this, and it was recommended through Parks and Recreation that this would not be an option. But that would be to take out one of the 4 ball fields, right? And so that is an option. It's what makes this project feasible. It doesn't mean that it's feasible for the city, given what all of your priorities are. So from our perspective as consultants, we take that into consideration and say, from what we've been told, it's really not feasible, but knowing that this project may happen, sometimes those types of things change. If there was another ballpark built, right, there's a variety of things that could change in the future.
There'll be less players. if you take it out.
I don't,
Then
I
you won't
mean,
have cars.
personally, I don't like that option if we're having the conversation about Kim Price. Yeah, I think it's,
So that's why it's really this yellow one that I've highlighted that becomes the kind of the only feasible option that fits within that. And it is above that. And then you can also, if you do count, when you think about ball field use, if you do count that 91 stalls, it then gets you up to 365, right? So there are options about trying to control where people are parking, say library and senior recreation only here, but then things can spill out.
Who owns the property, letter B? Do we,
private.
it's a
Yeah,
B?
we know, it's a private.
Oh, a private
It's
person.
a, it's
the home?
it's a, no, it's a commercial.
It's a commercial building.
Oh, okay.
I believe Corey said they own that piece and the piece that goes all the way out to State Street.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it's a separate conversation outside of
Yeah,
this.
you would have
We'd have to buy it.
Now, is it, the real question, is it cheaper than building an underground parking lot? Yeah, I mean, yes, that's what it's gonna come down to.
Exactly.
Underground's awesome, it just still kills.
Yeah, if you look under, yeah,
I mean,
letter
I
B.
love the underground parking lot in downtown. And I think you can definitely have some great programming.
I wanna know
And
the height, though, with being in a community of homes. If we go underground, how much higher is it going to be?
it doesn't have to push the building up at all.
Okay. Because
just the
once
cost of
again, I'm
digging.
thinking of the
Yep.
citizens and they're looking at this thing that's being
It's
built
still
and,
going to be large compared to the homes in the community.
Right.
And it will be rather close to some of those home
Yeah.
properties, right? You're
Depending
probably looking at, 35-foot tall building with
Okay.
a two-story with a larger, probably a larger floor-to-floor on the first floor because of some of those larger community space.
okay,
So here are the costs. These costs do not include additional parking costs. Option one is at 60.7 million. Option two is at 62.5 million. I'm sure you know the cost of this new building that we're in here. This seems like insanely more expensive. It's just where costs have come since you bid this building out, which is,
I know we've got such a deal on.
you were extremely,
We were lucky.
In your timing.
Yeah.
yep,
You did it right
We're
before.
double.
yeah, it's really,
Oh, you did this when I first started.
Right, the library district.
I just think it's
Kim's
a
like, I
good
know.
project because we're saving power and water, because we're combining both facilities. That's a plus,
and
in my eyes.
because the
Yes,
the recommended space would probably be over 80,000 square feet.
Yeah.
If you have them as separate buildings, but by combining them, we can get it down to 67,000 square feet.
Yeah.
and if we take over the daycare fire station on 6200, that could possibly be parking?
Could be, it's a little far away, I mean,
It's
it's
far
no
away.
problem with the 91 over.
But support the increase in ball field parking.
Yeah.
Exactly, and then they
Yeah.
could walk,
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
ball players.
And it's close enough to the ball field that it would be just
Right.
fine for ball field
And
parking.
there is parking across the Head Start, the old library.
Yeah, that's the 91 stall.
Okay, so he is adding that little, okay,
That parking that's across the street is added in that second.
got it.
So I have a question. I know that one of the negative aspects in option two was the lighting, like in terms of the placement, like in term, I was looking for it. Page 32. So option two, building footprint, square shape, difficult to access, daylight. Can you kind of touch on that? Like, would windows help? Is it just the placement that it would be
So it's
west?
the shape of the building is what we're talking about.
Uh-huh.
Either building could have windows to get daylight in. When you have a more square shape,
Uh-huh.
you have a larger distance in both directions. And so the daylight doesn't get in as far.
Okay.
On that second story, we can introduce things like solitubes, which are like a skylight, but and you can get that daylight in. But on that first level, it becomes very difficult. If you have a narrower footprint, it might be a little bit of a longer building, but then you can get that daylight. It's a shorter distance from one side to the other, and you can get that daylight to get further into the building.
Where I'm thinking, for seniors, it's not the healthiest
Right, so.
as well.
There are studies that show that natural light increases test scores, increases employee productivity,
Right.
and it has huge benefits for, seniors and the activities that they're doing.
Right, if we're putting them on the bottom level.
Yep.
Yeah. I only asked because right now the senior center is great. It's beautifully lit and it has the U shape and it's a little bit more narrow. Yeah, and it makes it easy for them. So my question is now is where would we place them in the interim if we were to build a rectangle building? Could we not build a rectangle building in option 2?
So we probably could. Let's go back. So again, this was really a study to show the feasibility of it.
Right.
And that seemed to be the most ideal placement in order to not tear down part of the
Right.
senior center. But you can see that if we were to take it down, make it a little bit, squish it this way and then let it come down into where this existing senior center is, that you could change that shape and it would fit on the site
Okay.
just fine and take care of that issue. Part of that issue is, exactly where that building starts. That building is compiled in a couple of different pieces. It is possible, depending on exactly how that layout worked, to tear down a portion of it and still let them be in it. Just wouldn't have all the space that they had typically had.
Yeah.
So it could be solvable.
But if we relocate them, where would we put them?
Yeah, that's the problem.
Like, where
At the
would we?
library.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah.
looking and
Yeah.
And
the
we have a
only
really
is
unique place.
the one on Bullion, the old fire station / police station / police
But,
storage, police something else, now it's power, I don't know what it is now. I mean, that.
It would be a long term.
Well, now, until they get done with their construction, I'm just looking for,
We did this building. And that is a possibility as a kitchen. We think that it would, in order to keep the meal program going, there would need to be a renovation cost to upgrade that kitchen.
so the dark one that you're talking about?
The one in the.
And see, and I'm talking about the one on Bullion.
Yeah, right, and I'm talking about the different one.
Okay,
The one that's on the same site, essentially.
right,
Where the old library fire station.
right.
If it's that location or the one on by the Head Start, you'd have to do some upgrades. You would
Yeah,
have to still pay
Yeah.
for that.
That would increase the $60 million,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Like, no,
that makes no sense to me.
yeah.
Makes no sense. How would we pay for this? Bond. That's what I figured.
the only way you can pay for it.
It'd be about $3.5 million.
And how much do you have in your capital fund now?
How much, we have about 3 million right now?
Yeah.
And then what about senior center?
They have
They
nothing,
would just Parks and Rec?
the Parks and Rec.
Isn't it amazing how when Kim used to say $3.5 million, oh, that's a lot of money, and then you talk about 6 now.
$3.5 million is the payment you said,
Yeah,
They
Brandon,
have,
that's
that's how
about
much
right.
they have in
If we went through a geo bond,
which goes away at the end of, and it goes through a vote, yeah.
And so it's an additional property tax for everybody. If we did it right now, we're
Yeah,
talking,
I guess
right
it's
now,
ranging about, and then,
the payment would be 3.5, it would be about $135 on our average home. And that's for 30 years.
How many years?
It's double what we're paying for this.
So what the residents decide, if they decide to support it, you're putting it back to them. And
Yeah.
you're saying vote on this and you choose and you know going in what it's gonna cost you, so they're choosing to vote on their tax increase.
So that's
how you
one
sell
way.
it. I mean, inevitably.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, okay.
Sales tax is the other way, and it would be about $136, because you're gonna have to raise property taxes to make the payments. Library definitely has to raise their property tax to make the payments, because that's their only revenue. And so it would basically double the library
But
percentage.
you guys haven't had
Okay, that's what
an
it does.
increase.
And then
Which
for the
is
general fund to pay.
0.0000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It goes through. It's Yeah, and then the general fund, our only option unless we cut back someplace else to make the payment would be a property tax increase, if you just call it.
Someone divide that by 12, so I know.
Fact that it's and the current library is not sufficient needs for.
The current library is about half the size of what a library should be for the population that you currently have.
Yeah. So I mean, for me, there's a lot of benefits in doing I mean, I've been wanting to see a project fruition since I started. And I know you guys have too, since before. And I think really we owe it to our residents and we owe it to our seniors as well. I mean, that population is not gonna decrease.
No.
It's gonna increase and we're gonna need a place for them to go. I mean, the boomers are coming, whether we want them to or not. They are coming and they need a space. And so, the boomers.
And
I mean, we're here, but we're already here, but you guys need a space. I mean, we need to really realistically think about transitional spaces.
For listening event.
It's currently big, but it needs a lot of work. It needs work, and we owe it to our residents to really get it.
If you look at this, Jennifer did the math, it's like $12.25. So.
Well, the geo bonds.
Like 100 and, then everybody goes, oh, but you have to break it down in a month for me.
One thing you have to be aware of geo bonds, we start the process, the city cannot campaign for it. You have to find a group that will campaign for it. It has to be external from the city, we are not involved. The library has one.
The only reason why I gas or whatever is because we just had a discussion right before this about power.
Yeah.
And the price tag on that is probably going to be bond level pricing as
It
well.
will.
So I just wanna make sure we're keeping everything in mind.
The power thing will be power revenue bonds. They will be cheaper than this.
Okay.
Well, they won't be cheaper than Geo, but they're a reasonable rate. They will get a good rating from S&P.
I just like to look at the whole picture, right? I just wanna make sure we have every fact before us. That's kinda why I was like, wow, okay. But it is what it is. I mean, I didn't realize we're half the size we need to be.
Yeah,
And
it's-
that's current population. That's not looking into the future. And so will this build for the future?
Yes, it builds out into the future. We don't see like a giant increase in.
Well, yeah, we can't be a
population.
100,000 person city around, so we're in big trouble. Yeah.
So it'll last out, in at least 10 to 15, if not longer, depending on kind of your total.
Hopefully 30 years.
But yeah,
But you need a place to go before then.
Oh, I'm good. I'll be on a cruise ship just going around.
the other thing with funding is a lot of libraries and these types of facilities have always depended upon, kind of the council bond or the geo bond. But a lot of them today are also having to go and look for philanthropic funds. There are foundations like the Eccles and different ones, and there are consultants who can come in and say, within your community and within the greater community of the Salt Lake Valley, there are organizations that may look to help fund different things. And it's not gonna be like a huge chunk of the 60 million, but it could be millions. And it can help. So groups like Pathway Associates can come in and do those analysis. And
But we've had the.
Name the center.
Fear, right?
and then the other one is if you are doing a GeoBond, going out and doing community engagement. Now, not just regular community engagement, but a strategic community engagement that engages the community about what this could be. And it doesn't mean I wouldn't even take this study to them. You just start with what are your community needs within the parameters of these two organizations, and then you work with them over a series of months to build into something that they then become the owners of, right? They don't look at it as this is the library's library. They don't look at this as this is the city council's library. They look at this as this is my library and my senior recreation center that I help give input on, right? And it builds support towards those types of things. You do have to watch, make sure you're not crossing those lines of promoting it, right? But it's different. It's about assessing the needs, and then it just naturally builds that support.
I like the statement on page 14. It says, this approach not only saves on construction and maintenance cost, but also promotes sustainability by minimizing the library's environmental impact. I really like that statement. So, it's a good report, but my biggest thing is parking, because I have it,
Were there
In
any
my
other
neighborhood.
main things you want to cover, because we're at time?
no, just parking.
Okay.
I'd like to say that I think it's a wonderful idea. I love it. I think it's great. We'll figure out the parking if that, that,
There's some options that,
right,
yeah, right?
my concern is still. And
It's not gonna get any cheaper though.
we need to be realistic. That's my biggest concern. I mean, that's a lot of money. And people are gonna think,
And-
we have a library and we have a senior center, so why do we need that? So
Well-
it takes some good.
And the other thing we need to decide, because we're not on our own property right now.
You're not on your own property.
Yeah.
The projected need of both the senior recreation center is much larger than what their current building is. And for the library, it's double. So those are the things that you would want to let the public know if you were to go in that direction.
Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate you. Number 4, discussion on a resolution of the Murray City Municipal Council giving notice to adjust specified portions of its wastewater service boundaries it has in common with Mid-Valley Improvement District. Russ Takla present.
Ben's board is coming up.
Is that what the construction is on 7th West, is this?
No. No, that's construction southwest is water line. Midzone. Yeah. Wasn't even ours. They just made a mess for in our city. Yeah. Is that on?
Right now, let's call it 8 minutes. Okay, the 8 to 10 minutes.
It shouldn't take that long. You guys received the packet. This is just a description of Mid Valley's boundary. It's really simple. It's just the process is going to take a while. So he put a slideshow together just to show you the areas. So what we have to do here is they came to us. They should have came probably to you guys for this, but they asked Ben to do it, and so that's why we're here. And then Gail had to write up the resolution. So it's just a legal boundaries was created in 1947, and it hasn't been adjusted in that time. Honestly, this is only affecting 2 properties in Murray, which the first one is Costco Sam's Club, which is right there. You can see their lines, and you can see our lines on the north side. You guys are looking the other way. So Sam's Club, they actually drain their sewage to, Mid-Valley.
They
So,
always have.
they always have. So they are taxed based on that, so there's some, Ben can explain that a little more than me, so go ahead.
So really, these two properties that are affecting, Sam's Club was always went into Mid-Valley's Improvement District's system. They just didn't have it on their record that they went into there. So there's no change, taxation change with that property. The property, 756 East Winchester, that does go into Murray's system, it always has, but they had it on their records that it went into their system. So there is a taxation change from Mid-Valley's perspective. On that side, they're losing a little bit of revenue there. So basically what it's doing, it's clarifying these two properties, and it's that they are clarifying their boundary within all. So Mid-Valley's boundary affects Cottonwood Improvement, Midvale itself, and Mount Olympus as well. So they're cleaning up their boundary with this, with all these different entities. So what's included in your packet is the legal description with just these two properties. But we have an updated legal description, and what they have included just spells out all of Murray City's boundary along the whole. But basically their boundary doesn't go north of I-250. And what this resolution is stating, it's clarifying the language on these two properties and stating that they don't go north of I-250. So it's,
You're kind of going back to 1947 and cleaning up that work.
exactly.
And bringing it here to 2023.
Hasn't been looked at since then.
Hey,
Just getting everything updated. So it is a lengthy process, so we're here today just to explain the process. So next week, a council meeting will ask you to pass a resolution for it to go out to public notice.
Yep.
There's 76 notices that have to be sent out. 60-day public notice period will come back to send for two final resolutions to be approved. One to approve the plat map. And then one approving the boundary adjustment. So that's the gist of it.
Okay.
What's included on here, we'll include that in the council packet, the full legal description. Here's the resolution that will be presented to be approved at next week's council, or next month's council meeting.
do you think there will be a problem with those that are going to get these notices in the mail? Do you think there'll be any kind of,
If there is any questions, we're directing the contact public services. I'll answer any of those questions.
Okay.
To clarify just kind of what this is spelling out. It clearly states in there, this does not affect your property, your service provider. Here's
yeah, because you mentioned that.
Or
Murray.
Murray.
or Murray
Murray's boundary.
boundary at
Doesn't
all.
affect that at all, just
Okay.
their service district.
And Midvale is okey dokey doing,
They have to do this also.
Yeah,
They
so-
have-
so they're doing this with Cottonwood Improvement, with Midvale itself, so every individual entity is passing a similar resolution to clarify these boundaries.
let's clean up 1947.
Well, that's,
Get it on.
That really is the gist of it, what's included in here. They finally did send us the full legal description of the boundary, and then a new plat map showing the boundary with Murray City.
Wonderful.
does this, we need to submit, we're supposed to submit for October 3rd, right? For the resolution to be approved? Or does this just carry forward the documentation? So I don't need to resubmit today by the end of 5 o'clock. No, this would be just what we talked about, you understand?
Any paperwork.
I can change the date.
Okay, yes, just making sure.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
So we'll move on to the last item on our agenda, and so we have about, we'll have 15 minutes after I'm finished here, but to go through this stuff. Now, I want to be clear that there's two items in here that we're taking action on tonight.
One item.
One item more than 1 in 2 weeks, and then anything else, or no, those would all be in the 2-week thing. If we feel like after we start discussing this, we need to do another committee of the whole, we can have another committee of the whole where we discuss this. So I don't want us to feel pressured because we do have back-to-back meetings tonight, quite significantly. So we have 15 minutes. If we need more discussion, we can take more time at another committee of the whole. Okay, with that, we are going to move on to the final item on our agenda for the committee of the whole, which is a discussion on the applications for non-monetary and monetary nonprofit donations. Jennifer Kennedy presenting, and remind me, it's the non-monetary that go tonight.
Non-monetary is going tonight.
Monetary will go in 2
Yeah,
weeks.
June, you guys did a options. We have a few extra applications. Since then, we wanted to present them to you. So we have 3. We've got, let's see, the American Legion, they put in to have their park fees waived for an Easter egg hunt they want to hold on March 31st of next year. The Haunted Woods have put in for park fee waiver. Their event is October 23rd through 25th. And this last one is, it's actually for the power days we had last week. It's so the power department, it's for their power bucks, their trees, and their food that they donated actually to the senior center, it looks like this year. So we wanted to get that in front of you so that it was all legit and on the record. So do you guys have any questions on what these are and what you're voting on tonight?
No, I have no problem with them.
Next one is the monetary donation. Now, if you remember, during the budget process, we created an application process. We've sent it out to the groups that we knew the city has given money to before. We have received all those applications back. We have a total of 7 applications we received back. Per Utah code, we were required to do a study, which we contracted with Bonneville Research. We reached out to 3 firms. Bonneville was the only one that got back to us, so we selected them. I included in your packet the study from Bonneville. Basically says that all of these donations could be warranted. The city would get the amount of donation in return via the services that these organizations provide. So now we just need to determine what you guys want to do, how you want to move forward with those applications.
I have many questions.
Well, let's start with your many questions.
Okay, first, I don't know what page it's on, but could it be explained to me again, whereas under section 10-8-2 of the Utah Code and the Utah Supreme case of Price Development versus Orem City, could we have an explanation on that again real quickly from, thank you.
The abridged version.
Yes. And if I can't get all my questions answered, I want to table this. This is my personal, because I have so many questions.
Maybe we should.
And I would like to.
I think it makes sense.
But I would like my questions to be out today. If they can't be answered, that's fine. Because I don't want to rush through this. Okay, so go ahead.
Sure. Or lawsuit that came over. That case was the precursor to what 1082 now says. Basically what it says was, in order to pay money to an entity, you need to show that there's a net benefit to the city. It just didn't give us out. And so they require a study to be done, show there is a net benefit to the city. What we're doing is the statute doesn't specify that it can only go to for-profit businesses. The statute leaves it open. And so in the past, we have been giving money to nonprofits in the budget process. And there was a discussion about making it more transparent, doing it outside the budget process. So 1082 itself became what Price versus Orem decision was. Changed the decision a little bit. I think the in one area of that case, they said, of course, that you had to justify annually the benefit to the city. The legislation said that over the life of the project, you have to justify it. So it's really 1082 you're looking for. The precursor to that was the Price versus Orem.
Okay, thank you. So my next one. As a council, staying within the budget amount of 2022-2023 was $153,300. If the council gives everyone what they want, it is going to total $207,000, and that's a difference of $53,700. If the council does this, the council would have to open a budget hearing, correct?
Yeah. Pay them all, we just.
Okay. I have a problem with that.
Wouldn't we have to do a budget opening anyway?
No, we've already got that money set aside, correct, Brenda?
Some in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we have the whole, from the same amount from last year in there? Okay.
So,
So it would be.
my question is, I don't know if I want to open up a budget hearing because after raising power rates, property taxes, my own personal life, Dominion gas going up, gas at the gas station, food costs, the over living cost is going up, and also we just increased the travel policy amount. We as a council, I think we need to have a base amount. What amount are we going to work with to, if we decide as a council to give anybody of these nonprofit money? And if we have to open it up as a workshop, I'm okay with that, or a larger committee of the whole, that's fine. But as a council, we all agreed that the council would look at this. And the question, should this be the last year we do this? In other words, we look at what they're asking for, we use the money that we have, that Brenda says that we have. Is this the last year that we do this as a council? Those are my questions.
Can I ask you a question just to make sure I understand one
Sure.
item? You mentioned on a budget opening.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure the budget opening doesn't necessarily mean we raise taxes. The budget opening potentially
We would have to
come
go
out of
into
the
reserves.
reserves. Correct. I just wanted to make sure I understood.
Which I have a problem with.
Okay, that's all. I just wanted to
Yeah.
make sure I understood.
I mean,
Yeah.
the timing, we had a budget opening last week that we went over, and maybe the timing was off there, but we wanted to give ourselves times on this.
Right, and that's okay.
Right.
It does a budget opening every 3 months. And
Yeah.
I talked to her about that.
Yeah.
So that's.
And
Well,
I'm
and I'm
not-
sure we're gonna have another budget opening in 3 months,
Yeah.
either way,
Yeah.
so I think, and I'm not saying, I hear your concern, Pam. I definitely do, and,
I don't want it.
Jennifer, what was your
I
clarification?
just want to clarify one thing. The council did not raise their travel budget. I just wanted to make sure that, we didn't put any extra money in our travel budget this year. I just wanted to make sure that was clarified for the record.
Did we not go from 35,000 to 50-something?
We elected at 35,000. That's your budget.
In the event that someone were to spend more, if we all spent the 7,500, then we would be asking for a budget opening to increase the 30. No, there has been no increase to the budget.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But still, I have a hard time opening up. That we need to have a set amount of money that we work with to look at how much everyone is asking for.
I think it's gonna take a long conversation.
Does anyone else have any input? I realize we're gonna carry this into the next
Any
meeting.
input or any information you need from me for the next meeting?
Yeah.
I think I mean, I appreciate the applications that we have in our packet, but if we can get a list of everybody and the amount that they're asking for, like just a snapshot, yeah, you have it. Okay, and then, and I'll just say this now, I think there are community needs that we have within our community that we need to potentially really have a conversation about, and them being some of the people in here, which I'm glad we did do this study. There's some things as a city we can't provide, but financially we can help and subsidize in some areas.
But I'm very worried that if we keep doing this, other nonprofit people are going to keep coming into the city, asking for money, and where do we say, stop?
Yeah, and I,
Because this isn't our money, this is the taxpayers' money.
right.
And so where do we stop?
I totally
giving money?
agree. I don't think it's a matter of whether we should stop or start. I think it's a matter of assessing what the need is in our own community. And
So is this
And
going to be the
it's-
last year?
I would hope not, personally. But I think we need to have, I don't think we should increase costs. I think we need to have a real conversation and evaluate what those costs are and go from there. But it's,
Just to clarify, we only had one applicant that we have not had previously, correct?
Yeah, the greenhouse.
So that's the only new applicant, so I wanna make sure, so there's some that are asking for additional funds this year
Yes.
that maybe didn't last year, so that might be another helpful piece as well, as just
yeah.
in addition to what everyone's asking for, what we've previously given, I think
Yep,
would
I've
be
got all that,
helpful.
I've got this all prepared.
Okay, perfect, and then, it's a tough year, right, because we're in a transitionary period, right? So
Yeah.
thinking how we handle the transition from when we were just openly adding it into our budget to now we're approving it, right?
Yes.
So it's an interesting position that we're in, I think, to think through and make sure that we're being cognizant of.
And I think the greenhouse is a great opportunity for us. It's a need in our community that we've never really met, even as.
And we can discuss that
Yeah.
at the next meeting.
Yeah,
I think we need
I think so.
more time, and so I think we should continue this.
Yeah. I think so
So we'll
too.
push this till October 3rd and then have the public hearing on October 17th. But that's gonna be just for the public hearing.
Okay, they're gonna be here for the 17th, they were planning to be here the 3rd now.
I told them, I told them it could be.
Let's plan that, but again, if we get to the 3rd and we move forward.
Yeah.
So.
Also, in the report, under where, the report, back where the chamber reported, the gentleman that did that report said that they got 60,000, it was on page 1 of 1, but I love the chamber. It said that they got $60,000, and that is not correct. The chamber did not get that last year. So that's an error on the person that did the report. So you might want to check over that also, so.
We will table this till our next committee of the whole meeting, as there's no other items. We are adjourned and we have RDA in like 3 minutes, but you wanna go 2 minutes after, so we have 5 minutes?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I know, I agree.
We're a little bit late starting the redevelopment agency, so welcome. We have all of the we have all of the RDA here and present, the mayor and Jennifer. So let's get started. The first, let's talk about the approval of minutes. We have 3 sets of minutes for June 27th, 2023, July 18th, 2023, and August 22nd, 2023. And it's come to my attention that the August 22nd minutes have a few corrections that need to be made, so I'm going to separate them from the other 2, and we'll approve them next month. Okay, so if there are no changes to July 27th and July 18th, are there? No? Okay.
I'm good.
I'm good.
All right, so there are no changes regarding June 27th and July 18th, is that correct?
Correct.
If that's true, then I would appreciate a motion.
I'll move that we approve the minutes for June 27th, 2023 and July 18th, 2023.
I will second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the motion passes. Let's go to the second part of our agenda, and that is citizen comments. So just to let you know that public comments can be made in person during the meeting or may be submitted by sending an email including your name and address to rda@murray.utah.gov. All comments are limited to 3 minutes or less, and email comments will be read into the meeting records. So, does anyone have comments? Also, if you would note your name and city. Okay, seeing none, we'll continue on to our number 3, which is an action item, and that is the consideration of a resolution approving an agreement between the Redevelopment Agency of Murray City and Salt Lake Neighborhood Housing Services DBA NeighborWorks Salt Lake for a contribution of funds to be used for down payment assistance and home improvement loans for qualifying households. Who will present? Oh, there you are.
Good evening. Yes, this RDA staff is requesting consideration of a resolution to provide an additional $200,000 to NeighborWorks of Salt Lake. There's been a large increase in requests for assistance, and staff believes that this would provide additional Murray residents the opportunity to purchase a home. You have already allocated $200,000 to NeighborWorks, and that is typically the amount that we do give in a budget year. However, at the time that money was allotted to them, they already had that money committed in applications. And so we felt that with the RDA, there are various funds available in the RDA, and this would greatly benefit additional residents. Obviously, there's a need for it because the original amount you appropriated has already been assigned to people. So the $200,000 is a recommendation from staff. There was discussion by some of the board members previously that they would like to change that amount. That's entirely up to the RDA board. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Again, to confirm, what was the original amount?
$200,000.
Original amount, and you're asking for an additional 200.
That is correct.
Do we have any idea on how much people are waiting on, or
I
have they
do
have
not.
interest? We
I
do
do
not.
not, yeah.
And if we were to say allocate $400,000, of which we have currently, would we, is that money stay there forever? Do we lose it? If, what happens with that money?
Once it's allocated to NeighborWorks, they will keep it in an account. And
Correct.
they will use it going forward. So, there is a chance
But
that.
then next year they could have a balance remain. It would stay in that
Exactly.
project, so then maybe
Exactly.
next year, if it
Yeah.
wasn't fully utilized, we
Exactly.
could then
Yeah,
give
it-
less in the following year.
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
You can do whatever you would like in that regard.
All right, any other questions for Phil? Okay, I think we're good.
Thank you.
I would then appreciate a motion.
I move that we consider a resolution approving an agreement between the Redevelopment Agency of Murray City and Salt Lake Neighborhood Housing Services, DBA NeighborWorks Salt Lake, for a contribution of funds to be used for down payment assistance and home improvement loans for qualifying households.
Councilwoman Dominguez, would you be open to an amendment to increase the amount?
Yes. Sorry, yes.
Could we look at an amendment to increase the amount to double it to 400,000? Again, with the understanding that all these funds stay in this or go to this program. If they're not used, they roll over to the subsequent year, and potentially we would give less in the subsequent year.
Could Gary do the amendment, Jill, of that? Or would it have to be in the same motion?
Say that again.
Could Gary do the amendment to that?
He can.
Separate from my motion? Okay, there we go.
I would like to know what the balance would be, what we've currently got, and if we were to take 400,000, what the balance of that budget would be.
I would assume, let's see, where is Brenda? Brenda.
I knew that too. I was like, she's hiding, but she's in green tonight, so we will find her.
I would assume this would come from the smelter site RDA, but I'm not sure. That's Brenda's.
We have probably close to $2 million in low-income housing. This will come from, a lot of it will come from the smelter site. We may use some of the other RDAs to cover it. If we don't do a budget opening, it'll have to come from all three. If we do a budget opening in the future, I can pull it all from the smelter site. Because a lot of theirs is sitting in reserves. The low-income housing numbers are sitting in reserves right now.
And there's plenty of money in the smelter site.
Yes.
Okay.
There is
What would
enough
that
money
be?
to cover this 400,000 in the smelter site, low-income housing,
Because it's specific
amount.
for that.
because
Right.
it's specific for
And
that,
she said it was
yes.
2
And
million.
that's what this would go
Correct.
towards.
Yes. It's moderate income housing. I call it low-income housing, but it's the same concept.
Absolutely. Okay,
I knew I could answer that for you.
Thank you.
thank you, Phil.
Absolutely.
No, don't be sorry.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, so we have a motion and an amended motion.
Correct.
So, do we have a second on the amended motion?
I will second, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I will make a second on the amended motion.
Okay, so we have an amended motion by Councilmember Hurekasi and a second by Councilmember Rogers. Can we have a
Call. Mr. Hurekasi.
Aye.
Mr. Rogers.
Aye.
Ms. Cotter. Aye. Ms. Dominguez.
Before I give my vote, I just want to disclose, I've received one of these loans from NeighborWorks already, but it doesn't change my decision or any of the conversation that's already been happening. So I'm going to move my vote to aye.
And Ms. Turner.
aye? Thank you. Okay, Now we are on discussion item number 4,
Okay, and
smelter
Much-
site RDA.
much in the same
Funds.
vein here, we need to talk about the smelter site RDA. We've mentioned previously that the planned end for that RDA is the end of this current calendar year. Some decisions have to be made concerning the funds that are in there. The last number that I received was 4.6 million. However, I believe Brenda said that was a few months ago. There's definitely some additional funding in there, but that's a good ballpark figure for discussion purposes right now, I believe. And what you asked us to do is to come up with some potential projects to use some of that money or as much of that money to benefit the smelter site RDA as possible prior to the termination of the RDA. In researching it, we came up with the reimbursement to the city for improvements on Cottonwood Street. And this past year, the city spent $709,832 on road and concrete improvements on Intermountain Drive from 5300 South to Vine Street. So that would be a significant boost to the city's budget if we could reimburse those in the Public Works Department. Streetlights, if we were to upgrade all of the streetlights around the perimeter of the RDA, that would be $69,150. And you did appropriate an additional $200,000 for neighbor works. That was another area that I was going to bring up to you. One additional item, we will be required in the next couple of years to do an update of the Central Station transit area plan.
Did you say a couple years?
It's coming up.
Okay.
Yeah, and so we have to start preparing for that. Zach has indicated that if we could appropriate $100,000 for that, that would enable us to apply for a grant, a matching grant, that will fund the study at $200,000. So that's another amount that we could pull from there. And let's see, I had, the total that I had did include that $200,000 for neighbor work, so that's gone, but my total was at $1,078,982. I rounded that to 1.1 million. If you take 200,000 from that, you've got, $900,000. So those are projects that I feel we can easily justify. However, that does not cover all of the money that is available in that RDA. So we need to have some discussions on the remaining amount. Donations can be made to, homeless funds, things like that. The Olene Walker Fund, that's been suggested. Also, we could try to extend the RDA. There are various methods that we could try to do that. I don't know about the timing of that. If there actually is enough time to get all those approvals, we would have to contact all of the taxing entities and get their approval to do that. And the other option is we let it terminate and we go to those taxing entities and we say that we've accomplished everything that we legitimately think we can do here, and we return their tax increment. So those are basically the options that I see going forward. And so, we don't expect a decision this evening on those, obviously. Those are big ticket items that need further discussion, and we do have 3 months to decide that.
How many?
End of this year.
3 months?
Yeah. End of this year, yeah.
And how much is left after?
Brenda,
Brenda, do you have an? Okay. Okay. I'm just going on the paperwork that says that the RDA does
How much is in
terminate
there
at the end of this year. I don't know. Brenda, by the time we collect the tax increment, it'll be over $5 million, won't it? Okay, so about close to $6 million.
In there.
Yes.
When I was at the ULCT conference this last week, and I forgot what the time frame is, I was in a session where they talked about the Olene Walker.
Mhm.
It would be nice if someone came in from that organization and explain it to us more detailed. They
Sure.
didn't have that much time in the session to get into
Sure.
it very
We
deeply.
could arrange for that.
But maybe
and-
we could have someone representative from the Olin Walker to come in the committee of the whole and give us some
Well, it would
education on
be,
that.
it would be either the RDA planning meeting or
Yes.
regular RDA meeting.
Okay.
It
It'd
would
have
be
to
up to
be an
you.
RDA.
Oh, yeah, that's fine, yeah.
Okay.
Because it was very interesting what was presented
Mm-hmm.
to me at the ULCT conference, and many other things that were presented to me, other options that we could spend money on. So,
Okay.
So it sounds like we need to continue this.
Yes, this particular item, we do need to have some detailed discussion and see how you folks feel about it.
Can I ask a-
So that we
another
can
question?
make a decision and.
So I have a couple more questions
Sure.
actually for you, Phil. And I want to, and Brenda, you're probably going to have to jump in on these because they're number questions. So, of the, so 6 million, close to 6 million, we currently, with what you've laid out, have a plan for 900-ish thousand of it, let's call it.
About
Okay.
$1 million, yes.
Yeah, about $1 million.
$1 million.
So the remaining 5 million of that, how much more could go to NeighborWorks potentially? What it could be, because I believe it's a specific allocation of that, correct? It's not all of it.
We don't, there's a specific allocation you have to use for low-income housing. Doesn't mean you can't use more.
Okay.
I don't know if you would want to do it all in
I don't
in down
disagree.
payment
I'm just
assistance.
asking.
You might want to do it in helping people stay in the homes they already own by
Yes.
adding roofs,
Right.
furnaces,
right.
all of that stuff.
But is that a project, is that a plan that the city would have to undertake then? We would have to basically lay out a program or someone already does?
That's NeighborWorks does that stuff.
Okay, so there's other programs within NeighborWorks that we could allocate the money
Yes.
to?
Yes.
And we can get that information so we know what those programs are
Right.
here, by maybe in the next RDA meeting, have that information? Okay,
And some more numbers on the next RDA
Wonderful.
meeting, so you'll know.
okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I don't want to give that money up. I don't want to give it back. I want to do as much as we can for Murray with that money rather than, giving it to an organization, which is probably
Murray
great.
will actually get back 13% of whatever we're giving back. The city of Murray,
Yeah,
just so you know, because that's, I don't know exactly what year they decide what percentage goes back when, but the city of Murray would get back some of that money.
I
I
think
have a-
that'd be great, yes.
I have a question. Does it, wherever we give this money to, could it go to like a nonprofit entity for a community center or other things like that of sorts, or?
Yeah, I think mostly for economic development, it needs to generate
Oh, income.
income for the entities that participated, and just giving it to nonprofits, besides the low-income housing set aside,
Right.
that does not generate future revenue for, so that's not in the spirit of the RDA rules. Putting in
Okay.
that Cottonwood Road and keeping that Cottonwood Road maintained does generate economic
Value.
value.
And these that Phil has listed, they also fit into that,
Yeah,
so.
the actual first building of the Cottonwood Street was done with RDA funds, with TIF money. The hospital didn't get any TIF money, but the city got TIF money repaying us for putting in that street, because it was not there. Or if it was there, it was probably a little teeny narrow thing.
Any other comments, questions? Okay, then we'll continue this, and any other options you can bring to
We
us?
will have some additional information at the planning meeting.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thanks, Phil.
All right.
Okay. Project updates.
Okay, downtown area plan is next, and Zach is going to give you an update on the downtown area plan process.
So if it's okay, I'm just going to go over the 3 project updates I have, which are A, C, and D, if that's okay. Downtown area plan. So we had the latest open house on the 6th of September, I believe. and it was pretty well attended. We also had the stakeholder meeting the day after that to kind of go over what was said and how the consultant is going to move forward with that. So have another stakeholder meeting in October where we're actually going to present I'm working with Ben on it, is going to present the information that kind of comes out of it, more of the guidelines, some suggestions of what to do to go forward with that. So
I have a question.
Yeah.
Are we surveying online at all for
no,
this?
that's now
It was
done.
all in person. It's already,
Well,
already done.
Yeah, so we did do an online survey. It was open for a few weeks, I think, and then
Okay.
it had closed.
I just want to make sure
yeah,
that
yep.
we're not going to continue that. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. And then any other questions about the downtown plan? Okay. So I'll move on to C, which is the Employee Down Payment Assistance Program. That's officially live. That got sent out by Kathy, I believe yesterday. So it's officially live. I don't know if we've received any applications. NeighborWorks is going to be following all that from now on. So they can provide an update when they do their regular updates as well.
And currently, the city is funding that program, correct?
The RDA is funding
The
that program.
RDA is funding
Yeah.
that.
As
So
the-
can some of these funds be used for that, some of the $6 million? Yes, okay.
Yes.
But that's not part of the 400,000 that we'd agreed on tonight.
Correct.
So there's potential there as well for another opportunity if we
Yeah,
started
so-
getting some big.
Yeah, the Employee Down Payment Assistance Program is a pilot program for this year to see how it works, if it gets some, and so we will see how it moves forward. I'm hoping we get to know some more information soon, so.
That flyer looked really, really nice.
Yeah.
It was very precise.
Yep.
Thanks.
And then last one that I'm kind of presenting on tonight is the fire clay bollards. Trey Stokes, the city engineer, did get, went through the procurement process, and that's moving forward. So he's put in the order. They're gonna look really nice. They're not gonna be like your typical plastic, yellow, bright things. They're actually gonna have a decorative look to them. So.
Are they gonna look like the ones that you gave us the report on
Yes.
first?
Yeah,
that
they're
look
gonna
like
look
a
a
chimney?
they're gonna look a little different, but I
Okay.
mean, largely the same, yeah.
And they'll be a nice color.
Oh, yeah. So, not orange. And that's all I have, so I'll let Phil come back up and do his stuff. Thank you.
Thank you, Zach.
Okay, we will, we'll jump around just a little bit here, but item B is update on the Murray Transportation Assistance Program. And we are at the point where it's ready to roll out pending the approval by the provider, which they're called Esther. They will be distributing the cards. We have a contract that the attorney's office has drafted that I just received the first draft, and we'll be sending that off to them this week. And once they sign that, they have their application process completed online, and everything is ready to go. The money's been appropriated. We're just waiting on that final contract approval. So that's going to happen anytime now. On the, let's see here. Item E, the townhouse relocation. Townsend, I'm sorry, the Townsend House. It's the project that I've really been educated on moving houses, let me tell you. There is one company in the state of Utah, they're based in Utah County, that does this, and they moved the chapel. I contacted them, they came out, did an evaluation of the house, then they went back and they did an evaluation of their ability to do it. The two gentlemen are brothers. They're in their late 60s, one is 70, and they wanted to do this project as kind of one last big move that, you know, they could really hang their hat on. But after looking at the house and looking at their equipment and the money that they would have to invest in rehabilitating their equipment and so forth, and talking to each other about their age and their capabilities, they have decided they cannot do that. They did refer me to a company, Wolf House Movers, in Pennsylvania. They have actually done work here in the state of Utah. I was told that they are the company that moved the Oddfellows Hall down in downtown Salt Lake City. I remember when that was moved, and it was about an $8 million move. It's a huge brick and mortar building. I am waiting for a ballpark estimate from them right now. They have a website that you submit information to. They immediately called me, got additional information. I've been able to upload our structural evaluation of the house and all the documents that I had. I was hopeful that they would get back to me before the meeting today, but they have not. So when that comes in, their bid will be substantially higher than the $100,000 that is technically earmarked right now for this move. So it will create some more discussion about this, and we'll see what you folks want to do. Also, though, in lieu of just saying we either move it or that's it, we tear it down, I don't, obviously we don't want to do that. I am working on some alternatives for that general area there that involve both the Margaret Cahoon House, the Townsend House, and tying it in with the mansion and that central area there. So we will have some rough proposals, some rough drafts for you to look at with regard to that too, so that you can compare the cost that it's going to cost to move the house versus some other alternatives as well. Okay, and I should be able to have all that by the planning meeting next week. And one last, let's see, 5025 South State Project, or Old City Hall. It's moving along. That's about all I can say. We have a new committee that's meeting, and it's a very small subcommittee that's working on making some progress and getting this to a point where it can be made public, and we'll be working with the selected developer to move this forward. That's really about all I can say at this time. Okay. And one last item, Cherry Street Road improvements, they should be underway anytime. So that's the last time we'll hear about Cherry Street until they're done, and I can show you some pictures in there. All right. Okay, any other questions for us?
Thank you, Phil.
Thank you.
Thanks, Phil. And thank you, board. I appreciate your discussion, and it's been good. So with that, we are adjourned.
And we do have quite a bit of time until our next meeting, and so we are noticed at 6 o'clock to begin the next meeting, so we will have 30 minutes now of break. So, thank you. All right, we are ready to begin our Board of Canvassers meeting. It is 6 o'clock. This is the Murray City Board of Canvassers, September 19th, 2023. We are here in the Murray City Council chambers. So pursuant to the Utah Code Title 20A, Chapter 4, notice is hereby given that the Board of Canvassers of Murray City shall canvass the September 5th, 2023 primary election returns during a public meeting to be held September 19th, 2023 at 6 p.m. in the council chambers. We are in order. Report the primary election results. It will be Brooke.
Yes, I'm here. Thank you, Board of Canvassers. I appreciate being here today. I first want to acknowledge that earlier today, you should have received an email from me with the official county results. You do have a copy in front of you as well. And we are going to go through those results right now. Before we delve into the election results, let me provide you with a brief overview of the voter turnout and participation in Murray City for the election. There were a total number of 9,694 active voters for District 1 and 3. Of that, 2,777 ballots were mailed in or dropped off. 40 votes were cast in person. There were 4 electronic ballots returned either by overseas or through Disability Act, and 2 provisional ballots. In sum, a total of 2,823 ballots were counted, reflecting an overall voter turnout of 29.1% of the registered voters in Murray City. Moving on to the election results, for Murray City District 1, Paul Pickett received 528 votes, constituting in 51.51% of the total votes. David W. Rogers received 269 votes, a percentage of 26.24% of the total votes, and Aaron Thompson received 228 votes, a percentage of 22.24% of the total votes. The total number of votes cast in Murray City Council District 1 was 1,025.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Why is there a difference between the 1,028 at the top and the 1,025 at the bottom? What's the 3 vote difference?
1,020,
So
let me
you
look
see
at my
how-
results here.
It says at the top 1,028. Is that because the 3 were not any one of those 3 candidates?
That is a great question. Let me look into that, because I'm not sure. It could have been one of the ballots that weren't cured.
Okay.
That's what my
Perfect. Thank
my
you.
thought is. But I will find out for you. Turning our attention to District 3, Rosalba Dominguez received 718 votes, constituting 41.38% of the total votes. Clark Bolin received 496 votes, a percentage of 28.59% of the total votes. Janice Strobel received 263 votes, a percentage of 15.16% of the votes. Scott Goodman received 260 votes, a percentage of 9.22% of the votes. And Leanne Parker received 98 votes, a percentage of 5.65% of the total votes. The total number of votes cast in Murray City for District 3 was 1,735. I do want to bring to your attention that we did have a 6th candidate for District 3, and he withdrew before the vote, but after the ballots were printed, so his name was still on there, and we do not have access to the number of votes he received. Those votes were suppressed, so I don't know what he brought in. All of these results were administered and verified by the Salt Lake County Elections Office, and based on the results, the candidates who will appear on the ballot for the general election on November 21st are as follows. Council District 1, Paul Pickett and David W. Rogers. Council District 3, Rosalba Dominguez and Clark Bolin. Council District 5, Adam Hawk and Gary Harekesi. Are there any questions? If there's no questions, I would like to request the members of this board to consider adopting a resolution certifying the election results. And can I get a motion?
I will make a motion to adopt the votes.
Primary board canvas results.
The primary board canvas results.
Yep.
I will second.
Right, see, and then roll call, I'll call that Mr. Mayor Hells.
Aye.
Mr. Rogers?
Aye.
Ms. Cotter?
Aye.
Ms. Dominguez?
Aye.
Ms. Turner?
Aye.
Mr. Harekesi?
Aye.
Thank you so much.
So what happens with the mayor voting if we went 3 and 3? Then we just sit here, huh? I don't know, never mind.
I know.
It's not necessary. You would have to get your coin out again.
Hey, just to let you know, I wanted to say aye so many times accidentally, and this time I was hesitant. I looked at Gary and I went, I am supposed to vote?
Yeah, he looked at me and nodded his head.
I do have some packets with your certificate of nominations for those that are moving forward, so I'll hand those out. And then if you aren't here, I'll mail those out in the mail tomorrow. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Brooke. And with that, we are adjourned until 6:30, in which we will reconvene for the Municipal Building Authority for 5 minutes. council. All right, good evening and welcome to the Municipal Building Authority of Murray City. It is Tuesday, September 19th, 2023, 6:30, and we are calling this meeting to order. Can I first get an approval of the minutes for the Municipal Building Authority of June 27th, 2023, assuming there are no changes or corrections?
Nope, everything looked good to me.
This is municipal. Okay, good. With that, I'll take a motion.
I would make a motion to approve the minutes of the Municipal Building Authority, June 27th, 2023.
I'll second.
I have a motion from Councilwoman Cotter and a second from Councilwoman Turner. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, Brooke, would you call the roll?
Mr. Rogers?
Aye.
Ms. Cotter?
Aye.
Mr. Dominguez?
Aye.
Ms. Turner?
Aye.
Mr. Harekezi?
Aye. We will move on to the public hearing where we consider a resolution amending the budget for the Municipal Building Authority of Murray City for the fiscal year 2023 to 2024. And we have our Finance Director, Ms. Brenda Moore, presenting.
So we have, as you know, the state of Utah only allows budgeting 1 year at a time. We have $998,272 left of the building fund. I had already, as we did the budget for 2024, I had already put $100,000 into the new year. So we are going to roll forward $898,272 of the city hall budget. We are still doing minor repairs and minor, not really repairs, but minor tweaks and fixes and adjustments to desks and stuff to make sure that everything is appropriate for the people who are working in the offices. When you do everything standard, everybody gets the same, then you have to do a little few tweaks here and there to make sure that everybody gets what they actually need. And that is what we're having our public hearing about, the roll forward of the existing city hall budget.
Wonderful. This is a public hearing, so we will start by opening the public hearing. Any members of the public who wish to speak will have 3 minutes. Please step to the mic, state your name and your city of residence, and after you're finished, fill out a form with Patty in the audience. The public hearing is now open. Very exciting. Seeing no public comment, we will close the public hearing. And we will turn it back to the council for any questions for Brenda. Seeing none, I will take a motion.
I make a motion to consider a resolution amending the budget for the Municipal Building Authority of Murray City for fiscal year 2023-2024.
I will second that motion.
I have a motion from Councilwoman Cotter, a second from Councilman Rogers. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, Brooke, would you call the roll?
Mr. Rogers?
Aye.
Ms. Cotter?
Aye.
Ms. Dominguez?
Aye.
Ms. Turner?
Aye.
Mr. Harekezi?
Aye. And that passes. And with that, we are finished with our agenda and we are adjourned for 2 minutes and then we will begin the council meeting. Marathon day. Good evening and welcome to the Murray City Municipal Council City Council meeting. It is September 19th, 2023, and 6:35. I'm Gary Harakasi, the council chair, and I'll be conducting the meeting tonight. All council members are present, as well as Brooke, the mayor, attorney GL, and Jennifer is here as well, our executive director. We're calling this meeting to order, and we're very lucky tonight. We have kind of a celebrity here with us, the former First Lady of Murray, Miss Ruth Iyer, has agreed to do the Pledge of Allegiance for us, so thank you. Come to the front to the podium.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Appreciate you. And we will move forward. There are no minutes to be approved tonight, so we're going to move on to special recognition. And so for the Murray City Employee of the Month, Isaac Zenger from our IT department, and the mayor and I will go to the podium. Where's your mic, Mayor?
I'm gonna get it
for you. I'll use this. I'll be kind of Bob Barker-ish. You can be. All right. Do you want me to read it first? Okay. I got this. I'm good. So this is our Employee of the Month recognition for Isaac Zenger. Isaac was tasked with the assignment of being the primary person for setting up the networking infrastructure of the new City Hall. This process started years ago, shortly after groundbreaking, coordinating with the contractors to make sure we have the correct number of conduits in the ground for our connected services for both the main City Hall side and the police side. He also contacted and worked with Utopia at this time to let them know we needed them to get the new building connected and was involved with our other vendors providing connected services. Getting these services set up included meeting with the vendors multiple times, doing site surveys during the entire build process. Throughout the entire construction process, Isaac also consistently visited the construction site with others in IT to make sure the rest of the IT infrastructure was being installed properly. Isaac also started working several months in advance of the initial completion date with Extreme Networks to design, set up, build, and test the new network architecture for the new building. Additionally, he configured the communication between the old building and the new building so they could run simultaneously for a smooth transition and shutdown of the old building. This also included setting up new firewalls, VPN, and a new wireless network. And so this is the Murray City Employee of the Month presented to Isaac Zenger for his hard work and valuable wisdom in setting up the network infrastructure of the new City Hall for excellent skill set, continuous multitasking, consistent coordination, and dedicated successful achievements signed by all members of the council as well as the mayor, dated September. And now I'll turn it over to the mayor.
Awesome. Thanks, Gary. Oh yeah, we'll give this to you. So now I've been instructed that it's not going to be on the wall anymore, so don't be acting like it's going to be on the wall. So there you go, and that's $50 right in there, $50. I tried to get it to raise it 100. I don't know why Gary wouldn't do it, but no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. So anyway, but Isaac, let me tell you, I've got to know Isaac over the last, how many years you been here?
10.
10 years. I was going to say, I've known you about 12 years, so 10 years. 10 years, and he comes across like he's the most quiet guy you've ever met and just really straightforward. Then you go to lunch with him and you find out a little different story about him. But anyway, he's a fun guy to be around. He's very intelligent and has done a great service for Murray City and is from Kauai. Let me just tell you, I think that's cool in itself that he's from Kauai. So anyway, we're lucky to have you here, Isaac, and we appreciate all you do. And we're going to have Rob come in and say a few things. But before we do, we just want to, from the council and the administration, give you a great big hand.
Thank you, Mayor. Council, thank you so much. I don't know what to say that the mayor hasn't already covered, but Isaac, to say that he came and worked a couple of months before the building was built is kind of an understatement. There was so much work that we had to do months, years in advance for this building to get it ready. Isaac was always there, ready to roll up his sleeves and get the work done. He also did a huge project, the OSI, probably about 2-3 years ago. He's just really done a great job for us, and I'm really appreciative of his work and his time that he's taken to work overtime, weekends. I mean, we were all working a lot of overtime to get this building ready, and so it's kind of a collective thanks, IT, but thank you, Isaac, for your extra work and consideration and all that you've done.
So I just want to say thank you to my boss and the council for recognizing the contributions and hard work that we've done in IT. Definitely this is a huge team effort that I definitely could not have done just by myself, required a lot of help with my team members, but I'm glad we were able to get this new building up and going and get network connectivity working with some hiccups along the way, but for the most part, everything's great at this point. So thank you very much.
Isaac, I just wanna also give you a personal thanks for always being so patient with me and all my issues with my phone and my iPad, and you're always there, so I really do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Appreciate it. All right, we will move forward. Are you gonna need your mic again, Mayor? Are you good? For a minute, you're gonna need it again. So that we're gonna move on to the second special recognition, a presentation of a certificate of achievement for excellence in financial reporting. Mayor Hales will be presenting. I wonder who's getting that.
Yeah, I wonder who's going to get this since they've had it 42 years in a row. Isn't it in a row? 42 years in a row. Brenda was the very first one to receive. I'm kidding. She's not. She's received it about
You look so
5 years
young,
ago.
Brenda.
No. How long have you been with the city?
12 years.
12 years. My goodness. Her and I are the same. 12 years. She's a lot smarter, but it's 12 years. But anyway, so this is a huge compliment to Brenda and her staff to be able to receive this 42. When I saw that, I knew we talked about it being so many years, but when I looked at that earlier today, I thought, is that in a row? I remember Brenda telling me this last year. Yes, that is in a row, and I'm thinking that's impressive. Is our audit done? It's almost done. We've met with Robert, and let me tell you, we're always really lucky because, or maybe not lucky, talented that Brenda does our finances, because very seldom do we find any. Every once in a while they'll come up with something. They say, well, we got to come up with something, and it's something very minor. So we've been really lucky, blessed in that area. So I'm going to hand this certificate to Brenda, but I'm going to, as you hold that, I'm going to read this real quick. And the annual comprehensive financial report for year 2022 received the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. This is the 42nd year that we received it in a row. The Government Finance Officers Association of the U.S. and Canada established the award back in 1945 to encourage and assist state and local governments to go beyond the minimum requirements of generally accepted accounting principles to prepare annual comprehensive financial reports that evidence the spirit of transparency and full disclosure, and then to recognize individual governments that succeed in this achievement with this goal. The goal of the program is not to assess the financial health of participating governments, but rather to ensure that users of their financial statement have the information they need to do them for themselves. So I'm going to ask Brenda to just say a few things to you, but without further ado, really, we are really, Brenda makes everything happen, and she's so good to work with, and she always gives her staff credit, so I won't say that because she's going to give it to them. But thank you, Brenda, and your staff for all you do.
as the mayor said, I have to give my full credit to the staff and to the department heads. The department heads, not only are they very careful in what they spend, they don't mind when I have pesky accounting rules and I have to move things around or do things, or it needs to be in this account and not that account, or how we do it. They just go along and, but they're always very careful, and they will do what we need to do in order to get our finances looking and being what they should be. But my staff, I never have to worry about what they're doing. I can trust them, and we are in the middle of the audit. We have found 2 math errors. We've planted 3 is what we've told him, and he's only found 2. It's not really true, but, it's just really great that we continue to apply for this award. They always send back notes. They always find something. This time it was all about the latest GASB 87, which was leases. So it was just semantics on how we presented our leases. Not that it was wrong, it was just that they wanted this word instead of that word and more consistency. So I'm very happy, and thank you.
If I didn't say, as the person on the council that lives in this world every day, that's very impressive. Businesses don't have this kind of track record with this kind of stuff, even public companies. So it's a testament to you and your team and the fine work that you all do to get this award 42 years in a row. And I think as people would understand the complication in what we do with regards to understanding the standards and applying them, it's pretty extensive. So congratulations. With that, we will move on to citizen comments. So citizen comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Please step to the microphone, state your name and city of residence, and then fill out the required form with Patty. And citizen comment is now open.
Didn't honestly think I wouldn't come up if I was here, did you? My name is Lawrence Horman. As for my address, which is requested, I live where I stand. I am here to advocate for the homeless. And just for the sake of variety, I thought I'd come up with a different subject that might be of use in helping in any particular individual city. It occurs to me that the Salt Lake County has made it legal within the county boundaries, but each city has to make their own decisions on this. For, I can't remember the term, I think you'll probably figure it out for yourselves, but alternative housing possibilities within individual private properties. Where if somebody has a trailer, a camper, a shed, something that they can add onto their property, big enough and properly set up enough for somebody to live in, that this has become a legal thing. It's not as big of a deal as building an add-on to your home. It's an alternative something rather, and I apologize for not being able to remember the exact term. But what it means is that if you look into your city ordinances and laws, you don't necessarily have to change or add any of them. You may have to change 1 or 2, but you could just simply interpret them differently than they are being interpreted. To allow somebody to park a motorhome, a camper, an RV, something on their property, whether it's their home or a business property that's privately owned, business properties, any private property, so long as they are living at a reasonable standard, as far as keeping things clean and not causing a problem. Treat them like any other housing within a neighborhood or within an environment. It eliminates as much of it eliminates some of the need for things like shelters and resource centers. It eliminates some of the need for worrying about policing people off of the streets because they have nowhere else to park their camper or their car or somewhere like that. Allowing places like churches that are willing to have parking lots where they allow the homeless to park in their vehicles for those who live in vehicles overnight within certain hours, as long as they keep certain standards. These things would make a huge difference. It would give people a chance to feel like they have a stable place to be so that they can get their head on straight, they can sleep safely, they can sleep comfortably, and then they can go the next day and find work and get cleaned up and do the things they need to so that they can get into better housing and better situations. Thank you.
Hi, I am Sheila Wall, and I am the president and director of the Murray Greenhouse Foundation. I've met a couple of you that have come in and bought flowers from us. I have to say that my association with Murray City over the last, since 2004, has been a very positive experience. We have applied for a grant to help us to expand and have more room so that our students, especially with COVID and their high risk, to spread out and not be so confined in our little house that we've converted to our day program for the disabled. I just want to say thank you for all Murray City has done for us. We have appreciated the support. We've got a permit in for a little sunroom to add on. We're still waiting for that. It's been a long time. We're getting a little frustrated with that, but we really want you to, I wanted to thank you most of all for your efforts and your help. Ruth is our champion. Both her and I have handicapped children, adults, I should say, who, if they did not have the Murray Greenhouse, would not have a place to go. I will get emotional, I'm sorry. And Ted and Ruth were both some of the originating parents that helped us start this program. And I just want to thank you and just consider us for the grant. I thought maybe you were voting on it tonight. If in the future when you do, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'd be happy to talk with any of you, and just thank you so much.
All right, seeing no additional public comment, we will close the public comment section. There's nothing on our consent agenda, so we will move on to the public hearings. The first public hearing is to consider an ordinance amending the city's fiscal year 2023-2024 budget. Brenda Moore presenting.
So I'll be very quick about this. At the end of the year, we had capital projects that were in process or that funds were being saved for future capital projects. Part of this budget opening is to roll those forward. Just so you know, there's a total of $25,214,000 and some change that's being rolled forward in capital projects of various types and in all of the funds. We have just a little bit of new money that's coming out of here. The library received a grant so that they can provide free period products in their laboratories for their clients. The water fund is receiving a capital donation from UDOT for $613,520. We're going to move one of our water lines off of one of their bridges as they replace the bridge, and they're paying 100% of that. We have never actually had concession expenses in the budget for arts, but they've started selling some concessions, so to offset their revenue of $5,000, we're having to put in a expense of $5,000. They actually sell it for a little more than they pay for it, not much, but it is a nice thing at the theater when you go and can buy soda and stuff like that. The other new money is in the capital projects. We're adding another $104,000 to the cost of a big does all truck. I don't know exactly what it does. They say it does everything. That's why they call it a does all. They have ordered it. It's going to cost a little more than we have in the budget, but it's probably not going to get here, especially with the new strike, until July of next year. So we'll put some in the budget next year to finish that project. And then we had some additional salaries coming out of reserves for the change in the economic director's position, and in the water fund, we had a personnel change, and so we needed to pull some money out of reserves to cover that. We're also moving insurance around, and there's a little bit of money coming out of a few of the funds for that. Other than that, it's all just roll forward. so that we can continue these projects. And you're gonna say, well, it's September, why, what have they been doing? They've been borrowing the money for next year's projects in order to complete last year's projects, and now they will be able to start the 24 projects.
All right, this is a public hearing, so we will open it to public comment. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Please step to the microphone, state your name, city of residence, and fill out the required form. Seeing no public comment, we will close the public hearing portion and turn it to the council for any questions or a motion.
Brenda? Okay, given all that, and we did have some taken from reserves, are we still okay as far as reserves go? Where are we at?
Yes, the general fund is going to finish last year at 26%, and this small amount that we're actually pulling it out of the capital projects fund and not the general fund reserves. So capital projects, it doesn't matter. It's designed to be spent.
Right. So we're good.
And the general fund will stay at 26-ish,
Perfect.
25 to 26.
And what is the requirement?
I can go up as high as 35 and as low as 5.
Okay.
Thank heavens you don't. Go as low. Thank you, Brenda.
Anything else? Seeing none, is there a motion?
All right, I'll make a motion to adopt the ordinance amending the city's fiscal year 2023-2024 budget.
I will second that.
I have a motion from Councilwoman Turner and a second from Councilwoman Dominguez. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, Brooke, would you call the roll?
Mr. Rogers?
Aye.
Ms. Cotter?
Aye.
Ms. Dominguez?
Aye.
Ms. Turner?
Aye.
Mr. Harakisi?
Aye. All right, we'll move on to the second public hearing. Consider an ordinance amending section 17.72.070 of the Murray City Municipal Code relating to parking requirements for beauty and barber shops and business and professional offices. And we have Phil Markham and Zach Smallwood already ready to present. Who gets the microphone and who's Bob Barker? Let's see.
Good evening, council. Zach is going to present tonight. He is the one that did 99% of the legwork on this and coordinated all of this activity through the Planning Commission. And so he will be walking you through all the details and can answer any questions you might have.
Hello again. I don't know why this sounds funny. So this is a request from Live Salons to modify the parking requirements for beauty and barber shops in the city. Currently, we require 3 spaces per chair in beauty and barber salons. And they have a large business that doesn't quite fit that model per se. So they do booth rentals. So they rent out booths to people, and so they have a lot of people coming in and out, and that facility just didn't allow for 3 spaces per chair. So they came to us with a request to modify the parking requirements. So staff did research pretty much every city in Salt Lake County and a few outside of Salt Lake County, like Park City, Roy, Vineyard. And we found that only one other city had the requirement of 3 spaces per chair. The rest of them did it as a 1 space per X amount of square footage of space. That's typically the standard for planning and zoning, is per square foot of space that you have. Staff initially recommended to the Planning Commission that we remove entirely the beauty and barber services and just focus on offices and professional services as a whole. The Planning Commission wanted to modify that and leave beauty and barber services in and just change it to 1 space for every 250 square feet of floor area. So the Planning Commission did vote 4-0 to forward a positive recommendation to the council. So, and that's really all I have. I'm happy to take any questions you might have.
Thank you, Zach. This is a public hearing, so we will begin by opening for public comment. Citizens will have 3 minutes to speak. Step to the microphone, state your name and city of residence, and fill out the required form.
Good evening. My name is Greg Griffin. I live in Salt Lake City. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, Live Salons. And before I get started, I wanted to give gratitude to staff. I'm an urban planner by trade. So sometimes when there's an evolution in the nature of business, whether it's economic, financial, cultural, code and ordinance is kind of a big lumbering beast. It's not known for its nimbleness. And typically what happens when things change in the nature of business, much as we've seen in office occupancy coming out of COVID, what happens is the businesses who are the early adopters tend to take it on the chin because they're not contemplated in the current code and ordinance. And I wanted to give acknowledgement to Mark and Zach and his team for listening in the first place. It's really much easier to just wait for it to become a big deal, show up in a planning magazine, wait until there's something going on. This particular operator, they're sort of a middleman, so they will go rent a very large space, 10,000 feet, and it's not booth rental, it's actually suites. They build it out, so it's complete. And so our platform would be renting to 3 to 4 dozen small businesses. So Shane, who's sitting back there with his 20-some locations, he hosts 1,000 small businesses in his operation. And a lot of what's happening out there in a number of businesses, I'm in real estate, it's the same for us. A lot of fragmentation. Millennials have become very entrepreneurial. We're seeing this suite rental expand in a lot of industries. We will not be the last industry who stands before you in all likelihood for this. And what we realized as we looked at the code is, first of all, for us, a busy day is about 40% occupancy. Because if you and I own a salon together and we're doing chair rental, we want somebody in every seat. We're pushing our employees because that's how we make our money. This model, the suite model, is different. It doesn't matter to them. People work when they want to. It's the flexibility, the entrepreneurship that allows people to do it. And it's no difference in executive suites, a WeWork situation. And we realized that in a couple of the cities here, we have our flagship operation actually is in Murray. It's in the old Greystone Mortgage Building. And what we realized is if you look at it, it doesn't matter if someone's cutting hair. The idea in the code, I believe, is to make sure that we can be a good neighbor, that if there's someone in the barber chair and someone cutting hair and someone waiting, that we're making sure there's adequate parking for it. But it's no different than whether it was the mortgage office or an attorney, someone sitting in the chair, someone in the waiting room. It's basically the same thing. We park out perfectly at professional office at about 4 to 1. So as we work through it, that's kind of what we came to. But I wanted to give some background and understanding that it's not a barbershop saying, hey, we want to have less parking. This is much more than that. So, any questions? Thank you.
Anything else? Seeing none, we will close the public comment and turn it back to the council for any questions. Seeing no questions, I will take a motion.
I will make a motion to adopt an ordinance amending section 17.72.070 of the Murray City Municipal Code relating to parking requirements for beauty and barbershops and business and professional offices.
I'll second.
I have a motion from Councilman Rogers and a second from Councilwoman Turner. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, Brooke, would you call the roll?
Mr. Rogers?
Aye.
Ms. Cotter?
Aye.
Ms. Dominguez?
Aye.
Ms. Turner?
Aye.
Mr. Harkisy?
Aye. We will move to our last item on the public hearing agenda. Consider a resolution authorizing donations of non-monetary assistance to or waiving fees for local nonprofit entities. And our Executive Director, Jennifer Kennedy, will be presenting.
Thank you. We just had 3 applications come in for non-monetary assistance. We talked about them in committee of the whole, but I'll go ahead and go over them again one last time for you. The first one was from the American Legion. They are requesting park rental fees for an Easter egg hunt they want to have on March 31st of 2024. The second one we received is from for the Murray Haunted Woods, which is going to be held October 23rd through 25th of this year. And the last one we received was from the Power Department, and that was for the donations that they made for Public Power Days. And I can answer any questions you have.
All right, this is a public hearing, so we will go ahead and open the public comment portion. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Please step to the microphone, state your name, city of residence, and fill out the required form. All right, we will close the public comment portion and turn it to the council for any questions. Seeing none, I will take a motion.
I make a motion to adopt the resolution authorizing donations of non-monetary assistance to or waiving fees for local nonprofit entities.
I will second that motion.
I have a motion from Councilwoman Cotter and a second from Councilwoman Dominguez. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, Brooke, will you call the roll?
Mr. Rogers?
Aye.
Ms. Cutter?
Aye.
Ms. Dominguez?
Aye.
Ms. Turner?
Aye.
Mr. Reckesy?
Aye. We have no business items for tonight, so we'll move on to the mayor's report and any questions for the mayor.
I'll keep it short. Joey informed me today that after 2 years, we finally received our Ford F-550 Wildland fire truck, and was delivered today, I believe. Is that right? Where's Joey? Is he out there? Yep, delivered today. Both Diane, I beat Diane, I just want you to know before she asked, I said, no, is this not electric? And he goes, no, Diane comes over, now the electric? I asked first, so. It's not the electric vehicle, that was still sold out from under us, but.
I haven't given up hope.
Yeah, well, no, we're gonna get it.
Yeah.
We will get it. Look at Joey. He's going like he's crossed his fingers, Diane. Anyway, thanks for we had a little outing today with the department heads and the council and a few others, and it's always good to be able to, in my opinion, to be able to do that. Sometimes the council's been invited and sometimes we weren't invited, and I just want to make sure that that will continue on, that we'll make sure that we invite the council and the administration. So thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having us. It was really fun.
It was fun.
Appreciate
It
it.
was a lot of fun.
Thank you. And Rosalba, you're a lot better. You're right. I talked to Doug and he goes, she's good.
Practice, I guess.
All right, is there any questions for the mayor? Seeing none, we are adjourned. It is, they put a lip on